Hi everyone, welcome to channel Qtomation. In today's session we will see grouping of test cases using describe block. Why grouping of test is important whenever you are writing automation test cases. Grouping of test cases in Playwright helps in structuring and organizing the test cases efficiently. For example, we write hundreds of test cases. But not every time we have to execute all the test cases. Sometimes we have to execute only smoke test cases. Sometimes we can execute only sanity test cases. Sometimes we have to only execute regression test cases, etc. So by using grouping, we can control the execution of selected test. So if there is a smoke testing, I can execute only the smoke test cases. And in such scenario, grouping is very important. Grouping the test make the test suite more readable and manageable. Grouping also provides logical separation of test cases. So we can categorize test cases based on functionality, modules, or scenarios. Because of grouping, we can perform selective execution. So we can run specific group of test cases without executing the entire suite. We can also use grouping concept for setup and tear down management. For example, shared before each and after each hooks can be used within a group to initialize or clean up the resources. For example, if I have one test cases group of login, and before all those test cases, I can separately use before each and after each hooks for those set of test cases. So that's the main benefit of grouping of test cases. So in Playwright, let's see practically how we can group the test cases and execute the selected test cases. So I am creating a new file. I am naming it as grouping underscore test underscore demo dot spec dot js. So we have created one test file. In this spec file, what I will do, I will first import test comma expect from we have to import test comma expect from Playwright test module. After that, what I am doing, let's write some test cases. So we are not going to write the actual test cases with all the browser launching, etc. I'm just going to show you how we can group the test cases. So I'm just creating the first test. Let's say this is the test case for valid. So let's say this is test case 1, which is for valid login scenario. So this is the test case title. Then we can use a sync keyword. Then our function. And inside this, I will just write one console statement. Let's say console.log. It will basically execute, or let's say running test case 1. So this statement will print whenever this test case gets executed. Now, along with that, we can also add expect function. I'm just passing the value of true. So we are making this test case as passed. So what we can use, expect function true to be truthy. So this will make this test case pass. Now this is first test case which we have written. Now along with this test case, I will just add one more test case for login module. Let's say test case 2. This is test case 1. This is test case 2. And let's say this is for invalid login. Running test case 2, that is in console.log. And here we can also pass, let's say, false to be falsy. So this test case will also pass. Now I will add two more test cases. Now these two test cases are for, let's say, login module. Now I am adding another test case. Let's say test case 3. And let's say this is for some another module. Let's say add product to cart. This is for adding product to cart. This is test case number 3. So I am just changing this part. And this will again, we can pass it as a true to be true. So this is just a dummy assertion which we are adding. It will obviously pass the test case. I will add one more test case number 4. And let's say this is for removing product from cart. So these two test cases are for cart module, add to cart and removing cart. And these two test cases for login module. These are the perfectly fine test cases which we have written. Now what I will do, let's execute these test cases. So when you execute this spec.js file, it will execute all the test cases. So how to execute the test cases? npx playwright test. What is the file name? Grouping underscore test underscore demo dot spec.js hyphen project equal to chromium. And we can execute those test cases in headless mode as well. We are not actually executing these test cases with browser launching, etc. But we are just want to verify how we can group the test cases. So first I am just executing in normal manner. So let's see the console output. All the 4 test cases should pass. So it is starting the test case execution. It is executing 4 test cases, and now if you see the console output, first test case, second test case, third and fourth. So fourth, let me just change the log. Yeah, so console.log, and 4 test cases got passed. So let me just execute one more time. So all the 4 test cases are perfectly executing. Valid login, invalid login, adding product to cart, removing product from cart. So all test cases got executed. If you see again, it is starting the test case execution and all 4 test cases got executed. So now this is the normal test case execution which we have seen in our previous sessions as well. Now we will see, let's say my scenario is, I want to group these 2 test cases in login module, and I want to group these 2 test cases in add cart cases module. I want to selectively execute separately login test cases, but not product adding and removing from the cart test cases. So I will create 2 groups in which I can place these test cases separately, so that whenever situation comes, whenever we want to execute only the login related test cases, how we can execute those. So to group the test cases, we can use describe block. So what I will do, I have to create one describe block. So syntax for that is test.describe. This is the test.describe block. We can give some title for that describe block. Let's say login cases. Then we have to provide comma. Then we can give a sync keyword, a function, and describe block. So this is our describe block. We have given title of login cases. And now what I will do, I will just place these two test cases, test case 1 and test case 2, inside this describe block. So I am placing both the test cases in describe block. So this is our first group of test cases, which contains only login module related tests. Similarly, I can create another describe block. So let me just copy this one only. Let's paste it here. And I will just give title as add cart, or simply we can say it as cart related cases. Cart cases. So this is cart cases and this is login cases module. And inside this again, I can simply remove these two test cases which are login related, and I will place these two test cases which are product adding to cart and product removing from cart. So if you see now, we have created two different groups. So first group test.describe is for login cases module, which contains two test cases for login, valid login and invalid login. Then we have created another test.describe block, which is containing the test cases which are related to cart module, which are related to cart cases. So these are two different groups of test cases which we have created. Now, how to execute those? Now we will see how we can execute the test cases. Now I want to execute only login cases. So if I want to execute only cases which are related to login module, then we have to give following command. So we have to provide command like this: npx playwright test hyphen hyphen project equals to chromium. And now I want to execute only login test cases. So I will just use one command, that is hyphen hyphen grep hyphen hyphen grep, and we have to provide this title of first group, that is login cases. So let's paste it here. So hyphen hyphen grep, and inside this quote we have to mention login cases. So now if I execute this command, just pay the attention. Now let's see which test cases this command will execute. It should only execute the test cases which are present in describe block of login cases. It should execute. If you see now, it is running only two tests using one worker. And if you see, test case 1 got executed, test case 2 also got executed. So only this group test cases got executed. What is the command for that? Hyphen hyphen grep login cases, the title which we have provided for that describe block, which contains login module related test cases. So we can create as many describe block depending on grouping which you want to do. Now similarly, let's say I want to execute the test cases which are only present in cart cases module. For example, add product to cart and remove product from cart. I want to execute only these two test cases but not login test cases. So what is the command we can use? Again the similar command, npx playwright test hyphen hyphen project equals to chromium hyphen hyphen grep, and inside this we have to pass what statement we have to pass now? I want to execute cart cases. So I will simply pass here hyphen hyphen grep cart cases. So when I execute this command, now it will execute test case 3 and test case 4. It should execute test case 3 and test case 4 only. It will not execute the test cases from different group. It will execute the test cases which are present in cart cases group. If you see now, it is running 2 test cases using one worker and 2 test case passed, test case 4 and test case 3. So this is how we can create describe block. We can add the test cases inside those describe block, and we can execute selected test cases. We can also do one more way. For example, if let's say I don't want to use grep command, so what I will do, I will simply use, and if I want to execute only this login related cases, so what I will do, test.describe, here I can put dot only. If I put test.describe dot only, it will execute only these test cases. It will again only execute these 2 test cases. And here we don't have to use grep. We can simply execute npx playwright test -- project equals to chromium. Now if I execute these test cases, it will execute only this block, only this describe block which contains login cases. If you see now, it executed only 2 test cases, that is valid login and invalid login. Let me just clear it. Command is npx playwright test. We have to provide file name as well, correct? Npx playwright test. What is the file name? Grouping underscore tests underscore demo.spec.js. npx playwright test file name -- project equals to chromium. And now if I execute this file, it should execute only the test cases present in this block, that is login cases module. So now let's see what test cases it will execute. It is executing 2 test cases, test case 1 and test case 2. If you see, test case 1, test case 2. So this is again one more way of executing selected test cases. So what options we have seen so far? Now I am just removing this only part. Let's save this file, and again let's execute. I can create another group of test cases as well. So for example, let's create another group. So I will just copy this describe block. Let's copy this describe block. I will just paste it here. And in this, let's say these are cases for some other module. Let's say users module. So these are the test cases for users module. Test case 5 and test case 6. Let's say this is for adding user, and 6 case is for adding removing user. So this is for, it should print console.log executing test case 5. It should print test case 6. Let's save this, and now I want to execute the test cases only from this users module. So what is the command we can execute? Npx playwright test file name -- project equals to chromium -- grep command, and here we have to pass users module. That is the title which we have provided for this describe block. So now which test case it will execute? When you execute this command, it should execute the test cases number 5 and 6 only. It should execute the test case number 5 and 6. It is starting the test case execution now. And if you see the console output, it has successfully executed test case number 5 and 6. So this is how we can execute grouped test cases. So you can create n number of groups, and whenever any specific group of test cases you want to execute, you can use command like this by using grep, in which we have to pass title which we are giving to that describe block. Now in this what we can do, so we can also use before each and after each hooks as well. So let's say in this login test cases I can use before each hook as well. For example, let's say I'm just adding one hook, test dot before each, which should execute before all the test cases of this specific describe block only, that is for login cases. Here we are passing a sync function. This is my before each block. Now in this before each block, let's say I'm just printing one statement, console.log. This will execute before each test of login module, because we are adding this specific hook inside the describe block which contains login test cases. So it will execute only before test cases which are present inside login module, login cases. So if you see, and I will add one more before each block, but this time it will be inside cart cases module. This will execute before each test of cart cases module. Let's save this, and now let's again execute this first group, that is login cases group. npx playwright test file name grep. Inside grep we can pass login cases. Now when I execute this command, what it will do, it will execute before each block, before each test case of login. So for invalid login and valid login, before those test cases, every time before each block will get executed. So let's execute these test cases. Now if you see, this is the console.log for test case 1. Before that test case, before each got executed, then test case 1 got executed, then before second test case of login module, again before each module got executed. So this is how it works. Now if I want to execute cart cases, so now let's execute the cart cases only. Cart cases. So now if I execute this command, it will execute before each module of cart cases describe block. So it should start the test cases now. I think extra space was there, so let me just remove that space and let's execute one more time. So it is starting the test case now. It is running two test cases which are present inside cart cases describe block, and before each test case, before each block got executed of cart cases module. So this block got executed, this hook got executed before each test case of cart module. So this is how we can use grouping concept of describe block in Playwright to group the test cases and execute those test cases. So this is the code example for that. So let's revise one more time. So grouping of tests in Playwright helps in structuring and organizing the test cases effectively. It can provide you logical separation of test cases. We can group different type of test cases in different groups. We can do selective execution as well. We have seen example also. So we have seen the example in which we have written the test cases. We have created two different groups. First for login, another for cart module. And whenever you want to execute specific group, we can use npx playwright test file name along with that grep command, and we can pass which test describe block we want to execute. So it should execute all those test cases which are present inside that specific describe block. So here if you see, if you have cart cases which is defined inside this describe block, it will execute only these two test cases. We can also use before each hook also, which will be executed before each test case of this specific describe block. So thank you for watching this video. In coming session, we will see one more interesting topic of tagging the test cases. How we can add different type of tags, and again there we can do selective test execution by using